Hello guys, so this is my second video of today. Sorry for double posting, wow, big burp there, sorry. I really wanted to make a quick video about my experience with top surgery. I know there's a lot of stuff going out around. Thankfully YouTube's definitely taken off and there's plenty of information out there for you. But I just kind of wanted to give a more personal experience, just for anyone, because when I was looking for information like this, it really wasn't, I didn't find anything. So I'm not really going to be talking about the traditional stuff about top surgery, just basics and explaining it and all of that. If you want that, there are plenty of videos out there if you just, type them in, like, FTM top surgery or whatever. But I'm going to be talking a little bit about my decisions and what affected them, because I've heard several people having similar debates, especially when it comes to the procedure that they want, whether it be peri or a DI, and that was something there wasn't a ton of information about, at least that I could find when I was looking. So I wanted to throw out my opinion and share my experience with that. But essentially, I decided to have top surgery. That was kind of a given. I think I knew I wanted that before I wanted T. That's something that has always been incredible. Like, that part of my body was incredibly not okay with me for most of my life, and I never knew why. So I decided I was going to get top surgery around, when I was finally admitted I'm trans to myself and I'm going to transition and do all this stuff. That was a non-negotiable thing. So I started looking and planning, and for my life, the way it worked out, I really needed to have it within a certain time frame. So I got on things pretty early, did all my homework and everything like a year in advance, and everything ended up working out fine. But it's definitely a long procedure, so don't go into it thinking that, I want to have top surgery as soon as possible, so I'm going to have it within like a month, and that's not realistic, to be blunt. This is something that definitely takes time and processing and sometimes red tape, and it can be very frustrating. So my first bit of advice would be to be patient throughout the entire process. I know it's going to be really difficult, and I know how hard that is to be sitting there in limbo and having to wait. It's the worst feeling in the world. But don't go in with, I think the only thing you really can do to help negate that from the outset is don't go in with unrealistic expectations, because that'll screw you over from the get-go. So I went in knowing, I decided I wanted to have top surgery in, like, I don't even know, and decided I was going to have it about 9 months or so before I knew I wanted it during that very small time frame. And so I started doing my homework and looking at different surgeons, and I thought, looking at other people's results, that I wanted to have peri, and I was dead set on it. That was what I was going to do. And for those of you who don't know what that is, I'll give you a real basic explanation. So they take the tissue and cut around the nipple and pull it out, and then basically do a purse string procedure, like, if you can think of a drawstring bag, and then just kind of close it up so you don't have the scar here, and you retain nipple sensation in most cases, and it looks very natural. You generally can't see the scarring around the nipple, so there's no discernible scars or anything like that. Sounds like a great procedure, and it is, and it's wonderful. But as I found out, it also there are other things to consider if you don't have X body type with X type of skin, and so there are a lot of other factors to consider besides just looking at one person's body and going, that's what I want, especially if your body doesn't really look like that person's. My best advice when searching for a top surgeon is to find guys out there who have similar type of body to you, look at their results, and find guys with similar body types who have results that you like, and look at their surgeons. Because you're not gonna, if you are, for example, I'm 5'8" and I weigh about 185 pounds. I would say I have a relatively average build. I got a little extra weight, but I'm not really on the skinny side or the heavy end, I don't think, at least. But if you don't look like me, your results might look completely different going to the same surgeon I did. Like, I know guys who went there who were bigger than me, so their scars, instead of being straight, are kind of have more of a curve to them. Same surgeon, same procedure, but it looks different on everyone. So again, look at somebody who has a similar body type to you, first of all. Second of all, when you're looking at things, the only real way, honestly, that you're going to be able to get peri and have it be successful and have it, like, look the way that you have in your head, more than likely, is if you have a very small body frame, very good skin elasticity, and a really small chest to begin with. Large A is a borderline, like a cup, if you're going off that size, is kind of borderline. B is like, Any larger than that, you're not going to. I don't know of any surgeon that'll do it. To be blunt, the most liberal one who has done those procedures that I've seen is Dr. Fisher out in Maryland, and I've seen videos of guys who were really dead set on peri and went with her and were not happy with the results at all, and wish that they would have just gone with a DI. And I get avoiding scars and everything, because that was the debate I had. But honestly, with peri, there are definitely risks to it. It's you're going to have a higher chance of needing a revision. Period. That's just kind of a given, because they have less control over things. You cannot control nipple placement with peri. So if your nipples end up like where your nipples are, once everything is said and done, that's where they're going to be. And so I've seen some that are very close together, because of that nature, just because of how it has to be done. They can't pull them out or anything like that. It's going to be where it is. It doesn't really give the surgeon a lot of control, is what it comes down to over the final outcome of your chest. And if you're small enough, there's really no control needed. It's just a little bit here, nip and tuck, and done. But trying to force that with a larger chest, and by larger I mean like large A or like small B, it can be very complicated. Or if you have bad skin elasticity, so if your skin tends to sag a little bit more, it's not tight, it doesn't spring back, that can be a problem. What Dr. Medali, and that's who I ended up going with, explained to me was, with me, there would be a good chance that I would have, like, essentially, he tried to explain it kind of like this, just like a weird little pouch of fat and skin and excess and everything that could require revision, and we may not even be able to do much about it. And that honestly for me was kind of like, well, no, I don't want to have revisions. I knew I was moving across the country. Cleveland, Ohio is very far from where I live right now, and honestly I just didn't want to have to deal with it again. I wanted it to be one and done, and he flat out said, the best choice for immediate contour is a DI, and so I said, let's go for it. But initially, when I talked to him, he said, well, let's make the decision, on the day. So literally the day I showed up to surgery, I didn't know what procedure I was going to have. And I ended up obviously choosing a DI. And that was a personal decision for me, just based off, I looked into it a lot more based off of results, and looking at guys who had similar body types, and I just felt that I would rather have the safer option, and have a predictable scar that I can deal with, as opposed to just kind of throwing it to the wind and going, I don't really know how it'll turn out. It could turn out great, it could turn out not great. And I didn't want to be disappointed with my results. And I didn't think that I would be disappointed knowing ahead of time that, hey, I'm going to have scars, but he can control where my nipples are going. He can control the size of my nipples easier. He can control the contour of my chest, and everything just seemed to, for me, line up to say, let's just do a DI. Because if he couldn't guarantee me or not guarantee, but reasonable guarantee of, this is going to look good, this is going to be fine, you are a good candidate for this surgery, I was like, I don't want to push it. So that's why I ended up deciding to do a DI. Dr. Medali, I actually chose him because he does very good job at peri, but he's also amazing at doing DIs. So he was an all-around great surgeon. His cost was relatively low in comparison to some other ones. Some charge over $10,000, and honestly, I haven't seen any result that I think justifies that cost, for me at least, that would be actually attainable for me. And, just looking around, I looked at Dr. Raphael down in Texas. He does a really, really amazing job, and him and Dr. Medali were neck and neck. The only swing... The reason why I chose Medali was because he was closer and a little bit less expensive, and I wouldn't have to stay in a hotel and be away and do the flying thing and all of that. Where with Medali, I went up, I drove up there, had surgery, stayed the night. The next day, I drove home. And recovering at home was really important to me, and so that's why I ended up choosing him. But I would highly recommend Dr. Raphael. He also doesn't do drains, so that's the worst part of top surgery. I think everyone who's had drains will tell you that. It is the most painful, horrible experience. And he doesn't use them, and his results are absolutely incredible. I've seen a lot of guys who have had surgery with him and have been impressed with every single one of his results, so I would highly recommend him. As well as Dr. Medali. I had a wonderful experience with him and his staff. My total cost was $6,400 for surgeon fees and all that associated stuff. I ended up paying more than that just because of gas, hotel, taking time off work, food, recovery stuff, medicine, all of that. You've got to factor that in as well. But the sticker price is $64, or was for me. But again, that was a year ago when I had surgery. I don't know if it's gone up or down since then, but that's what it was for me. yeah, so I worked a lot to save that money. I worked 96-hour weeks. And it was really fun. Saved everything I could, So I was working 2 jobs, and it was fun. But made it happen. But yeah, so that's kind of my experience with top surgery. I don't really have a ton else to say. If you have any specific questions, I'm not opposed to answering them, either personally, like on a comment, or if I get enough, then maybe making a second video. But I just wanted to briefly outline my decision with the surgeon and the procedure that I chose. So yeah, there's that. Take care, everybody. And if you've got, like I said, if you've got any questions, feel free to shoot them my way here or on Instagram. It's the same username. I'm more than happy to talk about it. So anyway, take care and have a wonderful Thursday.